Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new and special edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. I'm Raffi, your host, as always. Here today, we have a special guest. Davian, you've been talking to Jake for the past week or two, so I'll give you the honor of introducing him. And we are very grateful for your time, Jake. We're more than happy to have you on and talk about who you are. But first, Davian, Theodore, Jake, how are you guys? And Davian, if you want to give a quick introduction about who this man is, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. Besides crying that the Knicks haven't been doing well, I'm super excited to have Jake Suesserman here on the show. He's a former lacrosse player for Muhlenberg College and a TikTok influencer with over 14,000 followers, which is our goal, like here at Benchwarmer Sports. So we'll definitely need to talk to Jake at the side, figure out how we grow our TikTok page. But Jake, thanks again for joining us. And Theodore, how you been? You seem to be having an exciting.
Oh, I'm great. It's been awesome. Media pass at college game day yesterday. I worked the Bama Tennessee game. All that was fun. But today, our attention is fully on our guest here. So we'll throw it back to you, Jake, and maybe you can start the conversation there.
Yeah, Jake, first off, how you been? Thanks for joining us.
I've been good. Well, thank you guys for having me. I very much appreciate it, and looking forward to speaking to you guys. But I'm good. I've been out of college for just about 8 months, or probably just about 8 or 10 months now, and I work in sales in Boston. That's probably all I'll say about my job. But I really like it, and yeah, everything's been good. It's been an interesting adjustment, going from playing college sports to just like having a normal 9 to 5. But one that's definitely been welcome, and I'm definitely enjoying it, enjoying the day to day for sure.
Awesome. So I guess when did you start playing lacrosse? Like when did you realize this is more than just like a rec game for me? This is more than just like a high school sport. Like when did that really start coming in?
I started playing when I was in 6th grade. I did I'm from Westchester, New York, so I did like one of the local town leagues, and I liked it, but I wasn't very good. Obviously, lacrosse is not a sport that comes very easy to most, I feel like. So then I started playing for my middle school the next year, and that's when I really started to fall in love with it. I just thought it was everyone when they're young, they think it's like a cool sport, and all the guys have long hair and uh, mid calf socks, and so you just look at these guys on TV and start to emulate them. But I started to have some success, and I had a strong shot, and I played attack, and I really liked it. So I signed up to play club lacrosse, and um, after probably 2 years of club lacrosse and just really falling in love with the sport, playing varsity and starting to have some success, I felt like it was something that I really enjoyed. And I played football and basketball in high school as well. And then when I was a sophomore, I quit basketball um, after sophomore year to take the winter to focus on lacrosse. And summer of sophomore year going into junior year was the first time I really had any exposure to any sort of colleges and recruiting events. And then my junior season was when things kind of took off for me, and I probably came into my own as an athlete, more physical, and that winter I'd say really helped me come onto the scene for sure. And that's when I started to get some looks from various Division III schools. But yeah, I'd say watching Lyle Thompson too, and I remember I was a big Albany fan because my mom went there, and the two brothers and the cousin were just unbelievable, and so it was tough to not fall in love with the sport, watching those guys play at such a high level for sure.
Jake, I was in a very similar position to you, at least at that stage, because I played my whole life growing up. I eventually stopped after some medical problems, but man, those brothers are so fun. That was
Yeah, they were
I can
unbelievable, unbelievable.
it was and I never felt this way about lacrosse before or even since, but they were you legit wanted to turn on the TV every time those guys were on. It was awesome. On
Yeah, it
that
was
note,
must see TV for sure.
yeah, lack of preparedness on my part. What town in Westchester are you from?
Rybrook.
Oh, okay. I'm a Warwick lit up,
Yeah.
and then I went to
Oh,
Xavier.
okay. So you're
So
a little farther upstate. Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
sometimes though. So I just want to transition into your college career real quick.
For
You
sure.
first get on that practice field with your teammates. What's like your initial reaction to just the level of play around you?
I suck. That was like the first, I was like, Blindbrook High School, like I loved, I had 3 different head coaches. We never went in the weight room. I was talking about it with my best friend from high school. We played lacrosse and football together my whole life. And we were talking the other day and we were messing around about how we used to go buy Sour Patch Kids before practice and we put it in our pockets and eat it during practice. And like, it was just so unserious, which is why I think I wanted to play in college. Like I was really looking for um, a lacrosse environment that was more serious with around like surrounded by people who wanted to win and wanted to work. So I got there and I was just slower and less skilled than all the other guys. And so freshman year was definitely a challenge. You're slower, you're stronger, you're younger. All of a sudden you're going against 21 to 22-year-olds. And I think, I was 18 my whole freshman year and I played offense my whole life. I played midfield, but like primarily offensive midfield. And like in high school, I was like a 2-way guy, I'd say, but I wasn't a specialized defensive midfielder for sure. So when I got to college and they switched me, that was a huge adjustment. I'd never really played defense before at that level, not enough to understand how to play team defense. It was all just like, don't let your man score. So I think that was another huge adjustment for me was like be working as a unit and understanding like different slide packages where I needed to be at all times, like playing as a team, rotating, all these different things. And it was honestly probably just too much for me to handle. Like I went from not having really any serious lacrosse experience to playing in a college team when, every guy's the best player on their high school team. Every guy was a stud in high school. And it wasn't enough for me. I thought I was like hot shit and came in and was like at the bottom of the totem pole, but I probably needed it too.
Was that something and like coming in, had they told you like, yeah, we want to switch you around, or is that kind of like you show up and they sprang it on you?
A little bit of both. They were like, we'll make you a 2-way guy. That's what they said. And I mean, you get your opportunities, but they stem from the defensive end. So no worries. So that was new. And everyone kind of tells you when you're in high school, like I remember my mom and dad saying it to me a bunch of times, like, be prepared because every kid that you're playing against is going to be what you were in high school. Like you're going to go from being the best to being like, a freshman and one of the worst. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally prepared for that. Like I got it. No worries. And, it's just so much different than what you expect it would be for sure. I mean, it was a huge wake up call.
Absolutely. And then, sorry, but this has been on my mind constantly just because we're all in school right now. So I am just constantly just like classwork. But as someone who played D3, how do you balance, what's your time management like when you were in school while also doing lacrosse too? Because I've met people too who are athletes and they're like, oh, I do engineering. I'm like, I don't know how in the world people balance rigorous college courses with your D3 or just in general your sport that you're playing. Is this a lot of studying on the bus? Is this a lot of studying early in the morning before workouts? How does that what's your day-to-day like as a college athlete, and how do you stay on top of both your schoolwork while also making sure you're prepared for practice and the next game that you have coming up?
I'd say most of it was between classes and practice. Like you're like, I mean, I could give you like a day and like we would go 8 a.m. class, go eat, come back, do a little bit of homework, get a lift in on my own, 12:30, 1 o'clock class, class till 2:30, walk over to the facility, get a bite to eat, film at 3:15, film for an hour and 15 minutes. Practice starts at 4:30, 5 o'clock, get out of practice 7:30, shower, dining hall's closed. So like go to Chipotle, grab a bite to eat, come home. You're probably home at like 9. And then it's ice, Advil, and finishing up whatever homework that you didn't get to between your classes in the morning, and then you're in bed. I'd say it was tougher when I was a freshman and sophomore because you're younger, you care a little bit less about school, and you don't have as much direction with like what you're going to do with your career, and so it just seems so far away. And then once everyone gets to like junior, senior year, that's when you really start buckling down. Especially senior year was interesting. All of us know that some people are going to do a grad year somewhere, or they're going to come back. So, they're not as worried about getting a job. But for most of us, it was like, all right, I have all this practice, all this class, all this work, and now I need to find a job. So that was probably more interesting as well. Just, you're fitting interviews in between classes, between homework, like you're taking interviews from the facility in a shirt and tie. You're taking calls in the middle of like, you got a call at 5 o'clock, your practice starts at 4, you're running back into the locker room at 4:45, doing a little last minute prep, and then taking your call, going back out to practice after. So it's definitely not for everyone. And when people ask me about my experience, like I loved it, wouldn't change it for anything. But it's something that you really have to want to do. Like you got to be committed. You have to, and if you don't love the sport and you don't love the work, then you're going to fizzle out. And if you can learn to like appreciate the grind and understand that it's going to suit, like, even if you don't love it, it's going to suit you well in the long run. Those are the people that, can stick around and like have a successful, whatever successful means to them, but can have a successful career. So yeah, you definitely got to love the grind and embrace it rather than just like complain, I think, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's all mindset too, and it's whatever you put in is what you get out. And then you mentioned towards junior, senior year, those were more of like, okay, now I need to start thinking about my future. I need to start thinking about my job. When did you kind of have that moment of potentially thinking about, I don't know if I'm going to be doing lacrosse full time, or was that something that was always kind of in the back of your mind, or was it always just, okay, maybe I can potentially go pro one day, maybe I could take another year of lacrosse, take that 5th year, because I think you were probably playing you probably had a COVID year too, potentially, that you could have added on. So when was that moment when you kind of realized, okay, I need to figure out what I want to do full time, and where did that lead you to? Like, what are you doing now, per se?
I'd say, so during COVID, I didn't drop out of school, but I started taking part-time classes. I moved to Israel and I was playing lacrosse there. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll just coach in America, coach in Israel. Maybe I'll just coach for the rest of my life. That's a laid back lifestyle and you get to still be around the game. And, but then you come home and you start talking to your parents or my mom, my teammates' parents, and kind of start to realize that in order to facilitate the life that you want, coaching might not be the quickest way to do that. And so I came home and I was still thinking, maybe I'll coach. And my junior season, so this would be 2022, was when I kind of started to fall out of love with lacrosse, the sport. And I was like, I don't think that this is going to be a long-term choice for me. Like, I don't think that I want to be around the game anymore. I don't think that I love it the way that I used to, especially growing up. And I think that happens to a lot of athletes. And, you're kind of faced with a crossroads. Like, you've created this identity for yourself that you're a lacrosse player and you're an athlete and you're a competitor. And, all of a sudden the prospect of that getting taken from you starts to hit. And, it's just a weird thought. You almost kind of have to like reinvent. Some people, and myself included, you kind of think about how you can reinvent yourself. So I started to think about what interests me, and I'm a personable guy and always have been. I've always enjoyed talking to people and helping people too. And so the most natural career path, which most athletes take, is sales. But I really like that kind of idea because I like the idea of, you get out what you put in, just like with sports. I worked really hard in lacrosse and it didn't always come out in my favor. But I, played for a great team and we had a bunch of great teams and I loved it. And so I loved the idea of picking a career where, I would be basically like the master of my fate. I could be as successful as I wanted to be based on how hard I worked. So that was kind of what led me there. But yeah, I think, right around that junior year time when you really realize that time's running out and like, what do I do now? That's when I kind of started to buckle down and realize like, okay, I don't love this the way that I thought that I did. And that's okay. But now it's time to start thinking about, what's next. And for me, that was a career in sales.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I guess my next question, I mean, you mentioned you played in Israel and you coached as well. How's your experience really coming from like America, going to Israel, playing internationally and coaching internationally for an entire year? Was that like a cultural shift for you? Like, how would you say that kind of process, and what was that experience really like?
It was incredible. I lived in Ashkelon, which is, real close to the Gaza Strip, and the people there were unbelievable. They were just so warm and inviting, and the kids were like, I mean, it's so different coaching in Israel versus like the US. I mean, the kids, they just wanted to be there. Like their parents weren't making them go. They were really self-sufficient. Like most kids took the bus, walked, scooter. Like their parents weren't picking them up and dropping them off like our parents do when they take us to youth sports. I mean, if you wanted to play, like you were getting there yourself. And I think that's what really impressed me, right away when I got there was these kids were taking care of themselves and no one was making them show up to practice. And when they were there, they just wanted to run around, have fun, and get better. And they're always asking, like, what can I do? How can I shoot better? How can I pass better? How can I play defense better? How can I shuffle better? Like, how can I dodge better? How can I get better at my offhand? Like questions every single day, just peppering you with questions. And it was just so refreshing to see kids all the way across the world who love the same sport that I did and embrace this kind of grassroots program. It was unbelievable. It was such a pleasure to work with those kids, and it was a humbling experience for sure. It definitely showed me a lot about myself and just changes your perspective. It's a different lifestyle. It's the kids were just so much less like spoiled and like pretentious, I guess you could say, than a lot of the kids that we coach. And in the United States, like lacrosse is a very wealthy sport, and it's expensive. Like sticks are expensive, and pads are expensive, and club teams are expensive. Like if you want to play, it's difficult to play in college if you don't have the resources. But to them, like they couldn't care less if they were using like a brand new STX stick or like a starter stick from 2008. Like they just wanted to be there, and I think that was made a huge mark on me. That they didn't care what gear they were using, what jersey they were wearing, what helmet they were wearing. I mean, I remember growing up and like being like, my pads are ugly compared to the other kids. Like I'm like, they're going to make fun of me. Like I don't want to play. And these kids couldn't care less. And they were just happy, having fun. And it was a really special experience, one that I wouldn't trade for anything. It definitely shaped me a lot. Moving back, helping me hone in on what's important to me. I think those kids had just such a strong impact on me. And like I still talk to some of my players, and some of them have gone on to play for the national team. I guess one of them I played with. His name's Ori Bar David. He played. We played together in 2019 for the U19 tournament, and he played for the men's team in San Diego. And one of my players, Ronan Abramovich, who I think he's 20 now. He played for the men's team in San Diego too. So it was super impressive to have two native-born Israelis play for the national team at the last World Games. That's like what the goal of the program is, and to see them having success on that stage and suiting up against Team USA was special for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can only imagine that. And I guess, seeing the love of the game that the kids had, did you kind of see their love of the game and then question how much you love the game? Was that kind of an introspective moment for you as well, or did that kind of just further motivate you, like just coming back to America, like I love this game so much, like I want to play harder, I want to play better? How would you say like that impact, like that type of impact had on you?
I'd say when I got back, that's kind of what it was I love it so much. I want to play harder. I want to play better. I want to be better. And I worked really hard that summer. And then I got back my junior year and broke my ankle late in the fall, I think like a week before fall ball ended. And it was like after that, that I thought back to like the kids, and I kind of realized like maybe I don't love this the way that I thought that I did. And maybe like, yeah, maybe it's time to start thinking about something else for sure. So I think it was both, and I was grateful that I had both ends of the spectrum too to kind of compare with one another.
For sure. So, Jake, switch gears a little. I'm here at the University of Alabama right now, and here in Tuscaloosa, really all of our big-time athletes who don't go pro go into sales or business or something along those lines. Like the big lawyer here, like former football player, Jake Coker won a national championship for us as QB. Like he sells real estate here now, so it's like you're obviously in a little bit of a different boat because it's not like you can just sell to your like former Muhlenberg fans, but you are in a position where like you probably got some experience that helps you in sales through your playing career. So can you talk about that for a little, just how much of what you do at work has been influenced by your time as an athlete?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, just learning how to operate. Like being in a team I think is tricky because you have to balance, like your own selfish goals versus the goals of the team because they don't always align. And like, especially for me being a guy that didn't play very much, like I was pissed about it. Like to sit here and say like, oh yeah, I didn't care. It wasn't a big deal. Like that'd be crazy. It bothered me for sure. And so it really taught me a lot about putting aside like my own feeling about what was going on and like supporting my teammates and doing what was best for the team, like playing hard and like it could have been, it's really easy for guys to like mail it in during practice and like not give the starters a look because they're pissed that they're not starting. And it's easy and it probably feels good, but like I would never do that because no matter how bad I wanted to play, no matter how pissed I was, like I still had a job to do that was for the good of the team, regardless of how small it was. And so I think that's something that I've been able to take into the workforce is like you have to balance your own goals versus like the goals of the team because in sales you are on a team, and so understanding like when to help out your teammates versus when to like take care of yourself was a big one. And then I think college lacrosse taught me a lot about humility that I don't think I would have gotten in a normal college environment, like, joining a fraternity or playing club, like in a situation where I might have been, a star player or whatever at maybe a different school. I would have never learned about like humility and how to, work your way up from the bottom of the totem pole, earn the respect of your teammates and your coaches and the people around you. And I just don't think I would have been as successful because I think, I never would have had the experience where, you're not successful. Like in high school, I was like lacrosse and sports came more naturally to me. School came naturally to me in high school, and in college, neither of those came natural. So understanding how to work hard and like not be good at something is similar to the workforce because like no matter what industry you go in, no matter how much school experience you have, like you're going to go through training and you're going to start at the bottom, and in the beginning you're kind of going to suck at it. And the people who are successful are the people who want to get better and like don't care about sucking. And like, for me in sales, it's like you're going to get hung up on 9 times out of 10. You make 100 calls a day. A good day is 3 conversions. So that's a 3% success rate. Like you're not, it's the odds are not in your favor. So the people who are successful are the ones who can understand that a 3% success rate is good, and you can take no, people screaming at you, cursing at you, whatever, and keep digging until you find that treasure, for lack of a better term. But I think, yeah, that's definitely how college lacrosse helped me, in my career for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then moving on,
That's awesome.
because we're going to get into now something where we wound up connecting, all of us here, and along with you, and that was via TikTok. And I looked at some of your videos. You have some videos that have gotten 500,000, over 1 million views. Was this something that you just were doing on the side and just all of a sudden some videos just started blowing up? Or was this something where you were like, I know we kind of just make it, and if it's like, oh, if this becomes something big, that's great, but it's not something just to rely on full time. What was it kind of like when these first videos started riling off? And did you feel that, okay, like maybe I can turn this into something? Or is it more of just, I just post a video of whatever I'm thinking and whatever happens, happens?
My junior year, we played RIT in the first game of the year, and I was still coming back from my ankle injury, and I just wasn't really in the, I thought that I was going to play that year, and I wasn't. And it was starting to become clear to me that not only was I not really healthy, but I wasn't going to play. So we played RIT. We got beat pretty bad. And the game ended up getting pushed to a Sunday. So when we got back, because we played away, we were off Monday. So a couple of the guys who were 21 went to we had a bar on campus, or right next to campus that was very strict. And so it was only the older guys. And we were just having a couple beers, and I made a TikTok that was what is it? I'm Bruce Wayne, but instead of being rich, like a superhero and a billionaire, I'm ass at lacrosse, and posted it. And then it got a little bit of traction. And then we left for spring break 2 weeks later. And when we were on the bus to spring break, it just popped. My phone was exploding. All my friends from high school were and from club were dude, I see you, you're on my For You page, you're on my For You page. And so we were on the bus, and all my teammates were dude, you got to keep going, you got to make another one. So I made another one, and it was a similar, I was looking at whatever the trends were that people were doing, and just using that to encapsulate Division III lacrosse and basically being a bench warmer. And they just kept doing 100,000 likes, 500,000 likes, and so I just kept making them. And it was mostly just those trends at first, and using other people's sounds. But then I started to get people reaching out to me saying all jokes aside, I don't play either. And it's helpful to know that, there's someone else out there who's in my position, because who's going to brag about riding the bench? It's not fun. There's no glory in it. None. So who's going to brag about that? So I think I started to realize that there were a lot of people who were in my position, and if I could, make some people laugh, or make them feel a little bit better about their situation, that would be enough for me, because it does suck. But why not? If it's going to suck, you might as well poke fun at yourself too. So it just kept happening my junior year, and then I just kept doing it, and and eventually I think I hit 14,000 followers, and started to post less and less, because I kind of ran out of ideas. I was done with lacrosse, and I didn't want to post about my job, because I want to keep my job and not lose it because of social media. But it was fun for me. I enjoyed making the videos, and I would do it with my friends and my teammates, and what should we put? It would be what should we post today? What should we make? It wasn't what should I post? What should I make? And then I'd send it to everyone and be comment, send it to your friends, blow it up. And it just it was a fun thing for me. And it was cool. It was funny. Yeah, I got chirped for it. And then people in the handshake line would be like, dude, you're hilarious. It got me a lot of free drinks over the summer, which was nice. And still happens every now and then where people will be like, dude, I see you on TikTok. But yeah, it was fun. Like that was the biggest thing, was I was never like, I want to like get sponsorships or make money or like turn it into a career. It was just like, this makes my day to day easier, and it makes me laugh, and like it's like, it was like cathartic for me, you know, like I suck, relatively speaking, of course. Like playing college lacrosse is really hard, and I played for a top 20 school. Like probably could have gone somewhere else and gotten more playing time, but I love where I was at. So yeah, it just made life easier for me, and it was a lot of fun. I do kind of miss like having like guys to do it with. You know, it's not nearly as funny as it used to be. So I'm still kind of struggling to see where I can go next with it. You know, like I still post every now and then, which I think is how you guys saw me, because I think I still post like once every 2 weeks or something. But yeah, it was great. Like it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, the way I found you, I was like on my own personal page just scrolling, and then like I saw your page, I was like, wait, this is kind of funny, and then I was like, started looking into it. I'm like, wait, this would be an awesome guy to have on the show, and we've been like trying to like get somebody on the show, just like chop it up, like just hear more about their experiences. So I know like most of the questions right now have been pretty serious, but I want to get some more lighthearted ones. What's your like craziest experience like doing recruitment, and what's your crazy, and I know college is really like a work hard, play hard type environment. So do you have any like highlights or crazy stories in terms of that, like during your college days? Like go out one night, next day early morning practice, barely like walk in with game. Any stories like that?
We would go to Nashville for spring break every year, and we would play Tuesday. We would play a game. Sorry, we would play a game Saturday and a game Thursday. And so we would usually play Saturday in Maryland, and yeah, we play Saturday, and then we would drive to Nashville on Saturday night, and then we would we'd go out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, take Wednesday off, and play Thursday. And we would practice Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it was just like, honestly, like I played harder. I don't know if you guys have ever heard hockey guys talk about it, but you play harder because you're hungover, and like you don't want to show that you're hungover. I mean, obviously, like you're not funny, but I was like, I'm not going to play worse because I'm hungover. But yeah, we had guys like puking during practice, like missing passes, like falling over, and we would just, I mean, I think we lost a game on spring break my freshman year, and that was it. I don't think we ever lost again on spring break after freshman year. And we did the same thing every year, and like we'd go out to pizza after practice, and guys would be puking in the bathroom, and but it was just hilarious because you'd go out. I mean, Nashville is such a fun city, and you'd go out till like 3, come back, and you're waking up at 6 for practice. And it was kind of like, if you can hang, then you can hang, and if you can't, you can't. In terms of recruitment, I don't know if I had anything like crazy. I had a couple coaches like stay in my room too long on like not an overnight, but like recruiting trip. That was like a little weird. But I had a coach call me, like he just like kept calling me somebody else's name once. Like I think they had a kid with a similar last name as mine, and he just kept calling me Brett. And like I was like, that's not my name. But yeah, I loved it. I mean, I was like, yeah, I'm not going here. You don't even know who I am. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. Like we had such a blast. I had a great core group of guys who I'm still really close with, and we took Muhlenberg wasn't like a great program when we all committed, and we were committed to making it, like a top 20 program. And we never kind of got over the hump of like winning a conference championship, but we were in the top 20 most of my senior year. And like, that was a huge deal for all of us. Muhlenberg was a fun school with the lacrosse team was awesome. It was an interesting environment outside of lacrosse. But we made the best of it. And yeah, I loved it. It was, it was a blast. Lacrosse was a blast. The boys were a blast. We had a great time.
That's great to hear. And we got anything else we want to ask?
Davian, I think I'm all good. I think
I got another. Yeah, I mean, Jake, did you want to tell us any other stories you have or anything you want to share with the audience? I know that recently on your TikTok, you've been like really focused on really kind of helping players find their identity, especially like at the end of their collegiate careers. So, if you want to take a moment to talk about that?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
and feel free to also mention your username too.
All my. Oh, yeah. So it's Jake Suesserman. That's my username, and then my username on Instagram is Jake Sus. It's Jake Sus too. But yeah, I think like my whole life, I just kind of created this identity for myself that like I was a lacrosse player, and like I thought that was the coolest thing ever, and that's like all I needed to think about was like I'm a lacrosse player, I'm a lacrosse player, I'm a lacrosse player. Like I didn't care as much about school for sure. I didn't really give career any thought, and when lacrosse started to get taken from me, it was just weird. Like whether it was through injury or realizing that like there was no more, my playing days were done. I like didn't really know where to turn, and so I feel like for a lot of athletes, it can really lead to just like not really knowing who you are outside of your sport. And so for me, it was important to find like my hobbies outside of lacrosse before I graduated. So like I've always loved working out, so that was pretty easy. But getting into reading, writing, like whether it's fiction or just your thoughts. I'm looking to take up surfing, which don't think I'll be great at, but just trying to find an outlet that's not your sport, because it could be weird putting all that time and energy into something, and then like I remember when we lost in the playoffs, like it was like my career is just done. Like every time you lose, whether it's high school or college, your first 3 years, like it never really ends because you lose and then you're like, all right, it's time to get back to work. Like, yeah, it's not like we're in the NBA or anything, but like, yeah, you get back out on the field, like you roll a bucket of balls out and you shoot, or like you get back on the wall, or you get back in the weight room. And, you kind of have that like September 1st for volleyball or February 1st for practice. Like you have that start date in your mind and you're like, I got to be ready for Feb 1. I got to be ready for September 1st. I got to be ready for the lift test, the run test. And then you lose that last game, or you win, like whatever. If you win the natty, like good for you. Lucky, fuck. But your last game's over and like you just put 12 to 15 years into this sport and like it's done in the snap of a finger. And for some people that's the best feeling in the world, and for some it's the worst. For me, it sucked. So I had to figure out, what do I enjoy, like what means a lot to me, what are my hobbies, and like what do I want to do next. And so I think like I started thinking about that my junior year. And for some people, they don't have a thought until after it's over. So if there's like one thing I think I could pass along to guys who aren't going to keep playing, like don't wait till the last minute to start thinking about who you are, because like it hits you fast and it's tough. So start thinking about what's important to you and like what you might want to do outside of lacrosse, because even if you're not a senior, you never know when that could get taken from you. Injury, program folded, COVID, season canceled, like whatever it is, it can be gone in the snap of a finger, and it's up to you. Like nobody's waiting for you. Nobody's going to be like, oh, it sucks. He busted up his knee, or COVID happened, or the season got canceled, whatever. Like no one's, they might feel bad for you, but they're not changing anything. And so it's up to you to figure out what's important to you and like make those decisions for yourself. And so like be introspective and get outside your comfort zone, try new things that scare you, things that might not be lacrosse or weightlifting or whatever. Like read, write, listen to music, go on a walk, paint. Like, I don't know. I tried art in college. I was terrible at it, but I tried it. And, you do trial and error and you figure out what works for you. And like, then when you do graduate, you've created this nice new identity for yourself, and, you're not struggling to figure it out. You've gotten ahead of the 8 ball. And I think, that's, if I could leave you with one piece of advice, don't wait till the last minute. That's for sure. Don't wait till the last minute.
Thank you so much, Jake, for coming on. It was really great to hear from you, hear your story, and hopefully both of our TikTok pages can continue to grow in the future. Maybe the collab will help us all out. Davian, Raffi, anything you
Yeah, once again.
Yeah, I mean, thanks again for coming on, sharing this inspirational
Absolutely.
All right.
Of course, this is great too because I may or may not have a presentation I have to wrap up for tomorrow. So that last minute advice is definitely very helpful for going forward. But thank you again so much for your time and for joining us again. We really appreciate it. It was a little bit of short notice. Obviously, this was put together the past week. So thank you again and once again for taking some time out of your day, your busy schedule to meet with us. Really appreciate it. Once again, if you want, you can just share your username and where everyone can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So on TikTok, it's at Jake Suesserman. On Instagram, it's at Jake Suessu. You can find me on LinkedIn if you really want. And it was my pleasure. And hopefully this can help you guys take off a little bit. And we could do it again soon.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. Be sure to follow us as well, Benchwarmer_sports on TikTok. Give us a subscribe on YouTube as well. And as always, for Theodore, for Davian, and also for Jake, we hope you have a great rest of your weekend. We hope you have a great rest of your week, and have a good one. See ya.